two amendments. We're gonna amend the agenda so we have an opportunity for the public to speak on any municipal matter. Number 11, before in camera. And we're also gonna remove the recommendation for 9.1, as we can't approve the budget till we see the whole budget. We can do that April 8th. So do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Conitt, all in favor? That's carried. Did I do that right, CAO?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thanks. Number 3, no adoption of minutes. Number 4, no public hearings. 5, there's public input in current agenda items. So public can ask questions now, but if they wish, but there's also going to be an opportunity to ask after you've actually seen the budget. So is there anyone from the public that wants to speak now? Nobody on Zoom? Okay, thank you. No delegations, no reports, no unfinished business. 9, new business, 9.1, 2025 proposed capital budget, and CAO, turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to turn it over to our Chief Financial Officer to run through her presentation on the proposed capital budget for 2025.
Great, thank you. So, hello, everybody, we're here again, meeting number 2. Mr. Mayor, all council, our staff, and community members, thank you for coming to see what we have proposed today. So, same as with any of our budget processes, it's, I've met with staff, we've gone through the requests, looked at, where we've landed in the prior years. I'm still working through the audit, so once we get those numbers finalized, some of these may change, the carry forwards from 2024, but most likely not, so we will jump right in. So the first 3 pages, I just wanted to bring to the forefront the 3 grants that we have fairly large sums of money in. Our Growing Communities Fund was the 1.5 million.
And you're going to go through each slide, and then council can ask questions?
Yes, yes,
do?
thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
So I'll stop at the end of each if there's any questions that anybody wants to ask. So, yeah, so in the 2024 budget process, council approved all of these requests for the 1.547 million. In 2024, the only project that was completed was the bush truck, which you'll see at the top here. And then what I've done is listed the carry forwards into 2025, which makes up all of the money. Does anybody have any questions on these projects or carry forwards?
The hiking trails, I was under the impression that the money cannot leave the village of Chase.
I don't know that there is a requirement that states that, but
To check that. There are certain criteria, but we'll have to double check that.
I just wanted to expand on that. So like hiking trails and that outside the village, they're looked after by the Trail Alliance and they do the fundraising. So I don't know why we have $150,000 dedicated to hiking trails that are outside the village. Those funds we should dedicate towards things that we're going to need, like the arena improvements. I think that money would be better spent there than it would be for stuff outside the village that is already looked after by somebody else. So that's what Colin was trying to get at.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
So
So I don't know, is there a way of doing something we can change that or amend that?
Ms. CAO, how would we do that at the budget adoption
I
time?
think we do that at the budget adoption time. So basically, we're gonna run through everything today.
Yeah.
We'll take your comments And then on April, whatever date that was, that we're actually gonna bring forward, recommendations for the bylaws. We can go through all of the changes that council discusses in each of these budget meetings. At that time, we can have a resolution of council for each of those things that you wanna change.
Yeah, because especially this comes out of the growing community fund, and it's not, the money's not going into the community.
Well, and if I could just add to that, so, we will make sure we bring forward everything that's discussed from the last meeting, the water rates meeting, this meeting, and the operations meeting. And then we'll also be able to look at those grants, if there's any grant funding issues like this one, and we can provide guidance as to what could be applicable for that funding, so what would be appropriate, or, you know, what we can and cannot spend it on, because we might not be able to even put it towards Arena, just as an example.
Well, right above it, it says arena improvement.
I know.
Obviously, we
I
can
know,
put it there.
but what I'm saying, I guess, is that, yeah, we can bring forward all the criteria, and then if there's other things that council wants to reallocate those funds to during that discussion, we could say, yes, that's appropriate, or the grant doesn't allow that, or whatever. So, does that sound okay?
I hope we do the cemetery project the same way.
And we can certainly bring all of those items up, to fully discuss when we get direction.
Because I'm pretty sure that arena's gonna cost us a lot of money. Improvements.
Does that work for everyone, that we do it that way? That we track everything and then we have a full discussion next April 8th, or, yeah. When we're asking for full, direction from council on all of the budget stuff.
Okay. Next is our gas tax fund. This is an annual contribution that we get from the federal government from the gas tax that they've collected. So we had a budget in 2024 to use up to 1.295, 1,295,000 of that. And the actual projects that went through were our broadband testing. We didn't utilize the full 15,000. We did the curling club roof. We didn't utilize the whole 110. Bay Drive construction, there's been some consulting and design work started on that. So we've utilized 45,000. Council approved at a meeting in 2024 to approve water meter replacements, so that's why it was not included in the budget, but it was included in the actual. And then we had the backflow preventers and water meters in parks that was gonna take 3 years to complete, so that wasn't completed, and that's carried forward. So what you're looking at here is a sum of our funds available in 2024, what we actually spent, the new funds we'll get in 2025 with a remainder of the 1.29 million, and then the committed projects that are still out there with the balance left away. What I would like council to consider is we still have water meters to replace in 2025. And I'm hoping that we can put that through the gas tax and utilize some of that 165,000 for that, rather than eating up our surplus funds. Yeah, any questions?
I do. This water replacement, who come up with this, that we're gonna do Lakeshore Drive and First Avenue, water lines and that?
Who came up with
Yeah,
that?
it's just throw a dart at the door.
Oh, the number you mean?
No,
Oh,
Yeah.
just
location.
the actual location.
Do you recall?
Do you wanna,
Mr.
You can defer to the public works manager, but I can handle it too.
Sure, so this is part of our asset management, plan that we had, was it Urban Systems?
no, true.
True Consulting, do, and it identified these two areas as a very high priority. Both for the First Ave was identified as a high priority, both for water quality issues, for looping it, as well as the age of it. And Lake Shore was primarily the age, if anything.
Yeah, well, it was a combination of so we did a pavement assessment on every road in Chase, and so we have an analysis and a report of the quality of the pavement on every street. And when you take the pavement quality in conjunction with the age of the water line, and when it makes sense to do both at the same time, and these projects are right at the top of that list, because both the pavement and the water lines are past their life expectancy.
First Avenue was put in the late 80s. There was 3 of us that did it, so I mean, it's not that old and that. The road isn't that bloody bad. I think over, especially for fire protection, I think the water line from Cedar Avenue down to the Haldane School is a far more priority for an upgrade. It's 6-inch, and you could upgrade it to 10-inch there and put some better hydrants in. Brian can attest to that. There is no fire protection in front of that Haldane School, absolutely none.
Anything else?
Yep. You got backflow preventers and water meters in parks. I certainly understand the backflow preventers in that. But there's a water meter over in the cemetery, there's one on Shuswap down at the lift station, and there's one at the wading pool. And nobody gives a shit about them and that. Nobody's ever went and checked them and that, not as long as I was working there. And I bet you guys still don't. So, I mean, putting water meters in and spending a bunch of money on the park, the backflow, I certainly do understand that, you have to have that. But water meters in the park, no, I don't see where that's a big priority. And I think there's a water meter in Wilson Park too.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Conrad, so we've heard from the public numerous times that, you know, if we should look after our own affairs first. We should be telling people what to do, but also abiding by the same rules and regulations. So we have to lead by example. And we should know in our water system how much water we're pumping, how much water we're distributing, and how much water is being used. And the public have asked, how much water are those parks using? For years and years we get these questions.
Well,
So this is just responsible governance to know how much water we're putting into our parks.
no, it doesn't, it's a huge amount of money in that. Nobody really, maybe a couple of people have asked it and that, but you could tell them the numbers, yeah. Unless you're actually, monitoring properly and that, like in your odd and even days and stuff like that, and you only got them on at midnight for an hour or 15 minutes. Yeah, that's where you're saving the water in that. I mean, I just don't agree with the meters. It's, you know, have your guys ever went over there and checked the water meters on Wilson Park? Or down on Shuswap and that? I bet you they have it. Or the wading pool and that. Or the cemetery.
I mean, we do have remote reads now.
You're not, they don't have any aerials on.
And so any of the new meters that we were putting in, we would have access to be able to read those.
Yeah, to me, it's a waste of bloody money instead of you put those water meters in somebody's house.
If I
And if you put your sprinklers on and just stand there, put a pail out there or a little, something to catch the water, you'll know how much water is going into your lawn and then set your timer at that.
One thing that was suggested, Councillor Connaught, was if we know how much water we're using in our parks, we can actually bill Public Works for that use.
Oh,
And that way, the public isn't subsidizing the water we use in the park.
where's the money, where Public Works going to get the money from?
Yeah, but I'm just,
Yeah,
That doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make any sense. The village is doing their own watering, like we're not paying for it, technically.
But we should be able to tell the public how much we're using and lead by example, I think, for sure. I've heard a lot of people say that we're overwatering in our parks, and we should probably check that out and look at that. And maybe we are, maybe we aren't, I don't know, but if we
Well, water
don't keep, if we
meters-
don't keep track of it, we don't.
It's still not gonna, you're still gonna overwater it in that, eh? You gotta cut that back, I mean, just a little bit of feathering back on your clock and that. To me, it's just a complete, backflow, of course you have to have them, that's the law. Meters, no.
We'll add this to our list, things we bring back for discussions.
Alright. Anything else before we get to the next slide? Okay, the last one is our Local Government Climate Action Program, so our LGCAP. In here, I've included in the 2024 actual, and I'm gonna be bringing forward a request to council at the next meeting, is to allocate an additional 25,000. So what we have, down here on the Colburn Street multi-use path. So this project went over budget by about 25,000 because of the consulting and project management costs. We have to use up our 118,000 by the end of March. So we'd only be a couple thousand shy if council approves allowing us to reallocate the 25,000 back to this project. So right now, I've taken the overage and put it into operations, which would be coming out of our taxation surplus. If we could take it out of the grant, that would be a much better option. So I will bring that forward to the next council meeting. But otherwise, we don't have anything allocated in for the 2024 contribution. And so we have that money sitting there, and we'll have to see which of our projects might qualify for it. I've done a quick look at it, but I haven't seen anything that I could identify right off the bat. And the local government climate action funding is basically for climate initiatives, and maybe this is something we might be able to utilize with one of our facilities at some point. Use some of this money for that as well. Any questions from council? Carry on. Okay, so now we'll jump into the projects that we've identified and the carry forward projects that we've identified for 2025. Starting with the first page here, we have our administrative grants that are outstanding. These are all carry forwards from 2024. The NG 911 program, there's a second intake, which we'll probably look at applying for. Our CAO got some good news today where we can utilize some of this funding for infrastructure upgrades and whatnot within the village to accommodate that next generation 911 program. We have the two Indigenous engagement and cultural safety and cultural, I think that's a typo, sorry about that. So we have these two programs that we'll be bringing forward in 2025. One, the 40,000 is from the province, and that's for us to utilize as part of the new emergency program.
New legislation.
New legislation for the emergency program. And then the next three are mostly our corporate officers' projects, floodplain mapping and bylaw preparation, 300,000 this year, the new housing legislation and development approvals process. So those are all grants that came out of this in 2024 for the housing push. Any questions? Public Works, I'll pass this over to Manager of Public Works.
So the first one that we've got in here is the replacement of some kind of small parks tools and the tractor sander. Didn't include these in operations just because it was kind of a one-time bigger volume this year. things that are included in this, we need a new backpack blower, we need a new hedge trimmer, we need a new, commercial push lawnmower, and then the tractor sander itself. The issue with the tractor sander, it's getting old and it's, keeps plugging up with the sand. We're continually on a daily basis that we're using it, pulling it into the shop to clean it out. Some bigger particles and stuff like that get stuck in it. And so looking for kind of something that's new and up to date and will grade out those different larger materials. The next item was council resolution to bring forward at the 2025 capital projects, and that's the snow pusher. So we've had some discussions about that. It would be an implement that would attach to our loader and would assist us in clearing the downtown area as well as potentially some of the different parking lots that we do. Speed signs, council's aware of this one. This was the grant application, I believe it was through ICBC. And so that's just ongoing. We're waiting to hear back. If we do get this grant, we would bring it to council and look at proceeding with installing those. The Brook Drive roundabout design, this is basically just a provisional item. Once the roundabout is completed, it's going to have a electrical service and a irrigation service that will be capped off in the middle of the roundabout. And there will be an opportunity for us to decide if we want to have some sort of plantings in there or a sculpture of some sort, something like that. And so we've got a kind of that $5,000 contingency item to come up with a concept for the center of that roundabout. The Shepherd Road development, this one's being funded by the Building Communities Fund, or the Growing Communities Fund, sorry. And so this is the project that Sean, our corporate officer, brought forward at the last meeting, looking for the approval to apply for the grant for the sidewalk. And this would just connect Shepherd Road through by the high school there. And then Bay Drive construction, this one's being funded by gas tax, and it's currently out on BC bid right now. We received early budget approval to post it onto BC bid, and it closes at the end of this month, so we'll be looking forward to bringing that forward to council for a recommended award.
Any questions?
How's the sweeper?
The sweeper is in the same condition that it was. It's the same basic scenario. We are in discussions right now with our pardon me? With the supplier, and we are getting some legal advice on it
Cause it's been quite a while.
right now, yes. It has.
Alright, anything else? Carrying on. Is that
Yes.
the Public Works?
So up next is utilities, so the water line replacements. So as we kind of previously discussed, the Lakeshore and First Avenue water line replacements were a top item in our asset management plan. And so right now, we have included $400,000 from the gas tax, and this isn't just for the design. I would anticipate that the design for each of these roads would be in an order of magnitude of about 10% of this. And the remaining gas tax funds would remain with the project for the actual construction when we get to that stage. Water meter replacement program for 2025, what we were looking at here was an additional 200 meters. I currently have about 40 still in stock, and that should allow us to replace everybody's meter who needs one replaced in 2025. As previously brought up, so this one's the water meters and the backflow prevention in the parks. This got pushed forward from the 2024 year, where we spent the money on the water meter replacement program. And so just pushed it back a single year, so for the next 3 years, looking at $30,000 a year to finish our parks water metering and backflow prevention program. Filter replacement, so this is for the water treatment plant, putting away $75,000 a year for 4 years, so that we can fund those replacements that are scheduled to be needing replacement in 2026, 2027. Water intake bubbler replacement, this is a carry forward from last year, kind of a $10,000 fix on the actual intake down at the Pine Street Pump House. The Lagoons Headwork Project, so this is our $5.48 million grant. We did receive a preliminary conditional permit, and it's been posted on our website right now. We have some advertising out in the Sunflower for people to make any comments, and then we'll provide those back to the Ministry of Environment prior to them giving us final approval to proceed with the work. Telemetry, so this is the way that our SCADA system works and how all of our stuff can talk to each other, and we can know when we have an alarm down at the Pine Street lift station, if it's not, if one of the pumps don't kick on, that sort of thing. So it's the way that all of our equipment talks to each other, and it's just way past the end of its service life. Have a costing right now of approximately $25,000 to replace that infrastructure. And then the final one is the lift station IT, call it the brains of the lift station. Each lift station has 2 pumps, 2 computers that, one computer that runs each of those pumps for a total of 6 brains basically in those lift stations. And we're kind of running on borrowed time on those, again, just need to be replaced. Replacement parts aren't available for them right now, so if we do have any failures before we replace them, it's kind of all hands on deck and quite an emergency, so looking at replacing those. And the reason that we didn't do it out over multiple years or that sort of thing is because it's coming out of the surplus anyway, so rather than taking on kind of risk and liability that one of the ones that we don't change out is the one that actually fails, let's just go ahead and replace them.
Any questions?
Mike, can you just explain to everybody, okay, the bubbler needs to be replaced. Now, on the end of the pipe, there's a screen, the stainless steel screen in that.
Correct.
You're not replacing that.
No.
No, you're replacing a Cause you got a compressor that blows air out there, that cleans the end of it off, so it's just a piece of galvanized pipe with some holes in it.
Correct.
I guess the 10 grand is mostly for the divers.
I think that there's, I mean, to get anybody out to
No, I
to do work for.
I just wanted everybody to understand exactly what the bubbler was.
Yes, fair enough.
Anything else? Okay, moving on. So our IT project that council approved us getting a short-term loan for is moving ahead. It has not been completed in 2024. I carried forward the remaining money from that loan. Plus, we've identified, our IT, our workers have identified that there's additional costs to run into the fire department or run into the fire hall and the public works yard because of the building structure. So there's been some additional costs of about 16,000 added into here. And then the other part of this, another piece added to it, No, it was the carry forward, it was the additional costs, and then the regular 10,000 that we carry forward just for IT replacement within the village. So there is, you'll see on the capital plan, 100,000 brought forward again for IT for those reasons. In addition to that project, our fire chief has had some demos with a software program that he's asked us to include in the budget, which I've put a little blurb in here for. I'll leave it up to the fire chief to give you the information on it. And we, even though I put down here that it would be funded through surplus after our CAO's presentation or webinar that she had participated in today, we might be able to fund this through grants, so. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we looked at a couple companies that offer software for fire departments. The one that we liked the best was First Do. It was encompassing for a lot of programs into one software program. It included pre-incident planning, mobile responder, so we could tell who's coming to the hall. Include inspections, investigations, community contact. This includes mobile restricted community members, and that ties in with the emergency evacuation plan. Incident responding, personal management, payroll record keeping, training documentation, asset and inventory, tracking events and activities, and a daily roster that includes FR and rescue scheduling, which would be live on the app. So we have a board, dry erasure board at all that we use right now for members to put their names in for shifts. App would just make it easier to be live. So if they're at home, they find some hours, don't go to town, okay, I can take this shift, I can fill in for somebody. So it will allow us to keep track and have more shifts filled during those times. Our old program, Fire Pro 2, is costing way too much, and to transfer the IT system over, it's more funds they want, so we just thought we'd get, with Mike's help, did a great job on finding us some software programs, and this one looks really, really good.
And this one would connect in with the new NG911 system that's coming up as well, so there would be some connectivity.
Yeah, because we have a bit of a issue in about 8 weeks. We will not get our rip and runs through fax anymore. So it'll go digital, which means that we have to find a solution to get that information into our trucks or into a system. They don't use the old CAD program anymore, that's been eliminated. So we're probably looking at some kind of iPad system that's inexpensive and all this information will come to those. It'll be a map, it'll tell you how to get to the location where the hydrants are, where the homes are, if there's any hazards in the area, pre-incident fire planning, will all be on that system. So it'll be very user-friendly and easy for us to use to help the general public.
Yeah, any questions? Yeah.
I have a question, a comment on that is that's so cool, like I bet that'll save so much, it's like so many volunteer hours because it's like a built-in workflow, that's so cool. I had a question related to, it might be the slide before that, regarding the infrastructure going into the building. My only question is that,
This up top, yeah.
oh yeah, my only question is that the cost of putting fiber into the building, and that's just where I'm going with that, is that the cost of installing fiber optic?
Can I
I'm just
defer
curious.
this to the
professional?
officer?
Yeah, that includes the
That is-
fiber connection to the fire line.
Okay, and my only other, I just one more follow-up question if I may. Are you able to tell us exactly, like it doesn't have to be today, but how much it costs just for the fiber aspect of that? Just so we as council kind of have a general idea, like how much it would cost for the village of Chase if we were to explore someday putting fiber optic in ourselves.
If I could just add to that, so the connection between this building and the fire hall is not fiber internet. It's actually a connection, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Mike, because I think what I'm hearing is you're talking about fiber broadband
Yes.
service to everyone in Chase. And whereas this is not really a fiber broadband connection for them to get really great service, better than us, for example, this is to connect them to our server.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so am I correct there, Mike? Because,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're still reliant on a coaxial
Coax, yeah.
connection. So this is a fiber connection just between the two buildings.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, unfortunately, it's not the internet that we want.
That's okay, I thought it
We
might
really
be
like
like
that, but.
something there. Okay, thank you very much, that was awesome. Very good.
And that's already been completed, right?
That's right.
That's what these guys are doing.
Any more questions? Carrying on, objective services, I'll pass this over to the fire chief as well to kind of explain what he's got requests for this year.
Yeah, so every year we need new and improved equipment as our older equipment is starting to be unrepairable, and like our radios, they do age out, and unfortunately we need new ones every couple of years. Turnout gear is also aging out, and we would really appreciate to have the new turnout gear without the chemicals in it that cause cancer. Yeah, it's kind of odd, but they make turnout gear that causes cancer, so yeah. There's a chemical in it that the new brands of turnout gear is not being included in it, so. There's only a couple sets a year that we try to replace, because turnout gear, they strongly recommend through NFPA and WorkSafe is every 10 years, replace your gear, so. We usually use that as reserve for the new members, if they have two sets, or one set's dirty drying, they can still respond with their older set, and then switch it back when it gets cleaned and dried. Another thermal imaging camera requesting, and a battery operated ventilation fan would be ideal for us. Rescue, we desperately need a new hydraulic pump, which actually has been ordered. Hopefully it'll be here by the end of the month. The hydraulic pump is for the spreaders, cutters, rams we use for AutoX, and it is on its last legs. Basically, it was used when we purchased it about 12 years ago, and so it doesn't always work for us on scene, which is unfortunate, and especially when lives matter. And LED scene lighting that we would like to put on our new rescue truck, and our life safety rope is at its replacement date. This has a 5-year shelf life, so that needs to be replaced. For first responders, a defibrillator, the one that we have, unfortunately, it does match the same as BCAHS, but every time we use it, we have to replace the battery pack, which is pricey, unfortunately. We found a new one that will marry with the BCAHS their defibrillator, but the batteries don't need to be replaced every time you use it, so I would save us money in the long run. And then, some uniform jackets for the first responders. We don't like wearing our Nomex coveralls into someone's home when our turnout gear, which has carcinogens on it, so we don't wanna do that. So we're just trying to mitigate that situation.
Any questions?
How many years does it take for a radio? Every 2 years you gotta throw your radio away and get a new one?
No, we have some really old radios, we're just replacing the old ones, the ones that can't.
How old are they?
Oh, we have some that are about 15 years. Yeah, it's,
Brand new.
we had them in for a grant, but we were denied the grant, unfortunately. We were hoping to get a whole new radios, but we were turned down for the grants, unfortunately.
I have a question about, maybe just not about this, but like about benefits. Like, does the fire department have the ability to enroll in health benefits through the Village of Chase? Like, is that available to them?
We did have, yes, it is available. We do have, what is
See
it, life
the fire
insurance?
chief
So
on
what-
it.
Yeah, we also have coverage through the Volunteer Firefighters Association of British Columbia, work safe coverage. We can get extended healthcare, but that's a package that each member can choose and pay for. It's not included in our payroll or anything like that, so it's something that they have to, it is a great reduced price, but it is available for them. And we also have LifeWorks, which is a 1-800 number that we can call for any advice, including mental health and other issues.
And if I can add, just Mr. Mayor, so the CFO and I will be meeting with our benefits provider next week, so we can certainly raise that with them, to see if there's any additional benefits we can provide to our volunteers who do such good work for us.
It would be just an additional
Another
incentive,
perk for sure.
and just around like, I know there's like a lot of like young kids and they're having kids, and it's, it's nice to have benefits and stuff like that. So I know some other fire departments around the province that is available to their volunteers, so just something for the, thank you.
Any other questions? Alright, moving on. Now we're jumping into some of our facilities here. So we met with the museum and had quite a good meeting with them about a few things they needed done around the property, which we can most likely cover off through our public works and operations. One big ask from them was the construction for the basement stairs. My understanding is it's just kind of a slippery slope and it's not easy for them to access, and some of them are elderly, so it's not easy access. So this is included in the 2025 capital plan for council's consideration. Any questions on that?
Would that be, sorry, is that entrance or exit considered an emergency exit or entrance?
I have some information on it.
Okay. Sure.
It's outside the structure, it's to get from the back door down to the basement around the corner.
Oh,
So the
okay.
stairs are just outside.
Nice.
It's just safer to get up and down and egress, especially for in wintertime when there's snow.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
just where they store all their stuff.
Thank you.
It needs a handrail. Really, it does.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. The curling club, so the CAO and I met with the officers of the curling club, and they have a lot of asks. Their building is aging quite rapidly. We have carried forward from 2024 the gas tax project, I believe it was, for the replacement. I have a surplus here, but it was under gas tax. Replacement of the LED lights over two of their ice surfaces, so they realize that that's there, and I think they're working on that. They'll work on that this year. The other big ask is the south block wall that gets all the sun, facing the community hall, is in urgent need of being sandblasted and repainted and sealed up again. So it's starting to show some age, and that's their structural part of the building. talking to a finance person who's trying to define the building structure, but.
It's a big wall.
So that was one of their urgent requests. We have 10,000 set aside that we try to set aside every year for any projects over there. We know that that's not gonna be enough probably to do that project, so this might come forward to council as an additional request through the year if we can get a price for that. The other things they have, that are needing some attention is their washrooms. They have old toilets, old sinks that are just small, they don't meet public standards anymore. They need to do flooring replacement in the lower level, like they told us the carpet is just worn out. And, you know, a definite wish is to have wheelchair access to the second floor. Obviously, that's something, we don't know how that would happen and what the cost would look like for that, but it's always something I keep in the back of my mind when I'm looking at accessibility grounds, so just to put it out there for council, so, any questions?
It's starting to show its age for sure.
Yeah.
And they need, cause you just come in the door, you can't get up the couple of
Yeah.
steps there, I mean, it's not good. I guess they just have to take the 10 grand and figure out what they wanna do first.
And they are working with that consultant as well, so it will be interesting to see what comes out of that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that feasibility study that council approved just before Christmas, so that's moving ahead. We won't get a report, I think, until September, but they are looking at all of the options for, ways to make it more energy efficient. And hopefully, if there can be some savings, then they'd like to apply for some funding to put in some concrete floors and maybe have it as a multi-use facility. So some of these things would be really useful for a multi-use facility as well.
Sometimes when you walk by the backside there's no eaves troughs and the water just pools down alongside the building. And I'm wondering if that's being considered or if maybe it'll be caught in that assessment. I was just at a tour for the arena the other day and they were showing me all the leaks and I feel like that is exactly what is bound for the back of the curling rink.
Yeah.
The trouble is getting rid of it, like if you're talking on the north side of it.
This side facing, yeah.
Yeah, it's getting rid of it, and that
Sure.
is the big thing.
So I think there's all drain rock in there, on that, where the water comes down.
I know the wall bubbles in there. Goes like this.
Oh yeah, a lot of water.
No, it's not from water, that was from people dumping snow there,
Yeah.
Oh,
and that's why it went like that, eh?
okay. Any more questions, comments? Next up is our arena, so we are working with the energy audit consultant on the arena, so we have money set aside. So these, stars. These are what I put into the budget. Asterisks, okay, yeah. So we're continuing to work with the energy audit consultant. The second phase of the security installation is included in the budget here, and it's actually in process or almost completed, so it's in there and it's almost completed for the arena. Condition assessment, which we've gotten 25,000, so you'll see in the budget, there's two lines, 25,000 for the grant and 25,000 coming from surplus to work on a condition assessment. And with the projection of the Encore project coming forward, we've put aside 15,000 into the budget for parking lot paving plan to help with that project. And then the other couple of things that came out of, I believe they're on our strategic plan, was the roof gutter downspout repairs, and from what I'm hearing, it's more than just the downspouts or the gutters, it's like the whole roofing project, so that will hopefully come out of that condition assessment and give us more information. Did I get that right? And then the female change rooms were identified on our strategic plan, which we have set aside that money, like that's part of a bigger project, but it's, you know, hopefully with the Canuck money and the Growing Communities Fund, and that's project that's developed, so. Any questions?
So the report from the condition assessment that's looking into their ice making machines and stuff like that, or is it just the building itself?
It'll be more the building itself, like the building envelope, the roof, the walls, the, you know, the structure, kind of the bones of the building.
Right.
Yeah, and we do have the first item, the continue work with energy audit consultant, that's more on the ice making, and lighting and kind of all the
Oh, yeah.
energy sucking stuff,
Yeah.
so that they can give us a report on how they can help us to be more energy efficient, right there.
That's my understanding.
I listened to a thing on CBC about what do they call them, Zambonis? And a lot of hockey players get asthma. And it's because of the Zambonis, it's because of the off gases that are coming off in that thing. So a lot of them are going with electric Zambonis now, they're more money.
Ours is.
Yeah.
It is, eh?
Yep.
Right
I
on,
was
yeah.
gonna say about
Yeah, we got some grant funding a few years ago to buy an electric Zamboni, so we're ready.
Yeah, I guess a lot of aged hockey, they get asthma on that. It just goes with it playing hockey, it's because of that off gas.
Anyone else?
Oh, Mr. Mayor? Mr. Baker has a comment or question.
Through the CEO. So just for clarity, so the first four that have the asterisks there, those have been currently kind of budgeted. But this list in total was kind of the requests that had come forward from the Rec Society. Where specifically I'm challenged with, say, the roof gutter downspout repairs, those currently aren't budgeted in there, and the reason for that is because we need to replace the gutters there, because water is getting in behind. But before we replace the gutters, we need to replace the gutter guards. And before we replace the gutter guards, we need a new roof on the entire thing, and so they're kind of all part and parcel, and those will be coming forward in the next few years, but there's no point at this point in time in budgeting $40,000 for new gutters if we're not going to be looking at the whole thing. So that's just for clarity. Thank you.
Alright.
It's gonna be expensive,
Yeah.
And it's a big,
that's a big metal
big piece
roof.
of real estate too, yeah. Moving on, so our community hall, we've continually brought forward the upgrading of the LED sign. So again, we brought it forward, we're looking at probably a $25,000 hit for that. It'll be, you know, something nice on the side of the building, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, it'll be remotely controlled, so you can program it from a desktop. Right now, we have to march a laptop over there every time and hook it in directly and update the signage. Plus, the readout is archaic, it's the old sort of bubble screen. The new LCD screen's more lively, you can stream things, you can, it's just be more interactive. Plus, if we ever wanted to, if council ever wanted to offload that responsibility onto the chamber who's asked for it, or some other, you know, you just open it up so it's anyone could log into their computer onto the LED screen and program a message. So just moving into new technology. And
That's the question, would it be same size or a little bigger or?
to be determined, I think if there's space there for a larger size, I think we try to maximize the space that's available for a sign.
But I'm just thinking, because sometimes you can't read the messages if you're if you're driving, you see part of it and then you see
Yeah,
part of it
and then you gotta go,
later.
because there's
You gotta go around the
behind
block
you
and
and
waste some
yeah.
more gas so you
Yeah.
can see the rest of it. So I just wondered, but it might be a different, with the sign being different, a
Yeah, or
different
maybe
type,
it
maybe
might be a little better,
it won't be
Yeah,
that.
higher resolution and
Yeah.
all that
Yeah,
kind of stuff, yeah.
I don't think you should be reading that sign while you're driving to begin with.
Oh, are you kidding me?
That's a dangerous
You should see the
practice.
things I do.
With the programming of it, you said you could do it right here in the office and that, so if, and you were saying that somebody else can do it, or
Well, it would be a login on any computer. and it's-
any, so anybody wants to advertise a garage sale can go in there and,
Well, if we
No, not
provided the
as if
user.
we allowed it, yeah, if we
Yeah.
allowed it. So I guess just to expand a little bit if I could, we have had some discussions with the chamber who have said they'd be interested in actually managing the messaging on the LED sign. So if we ever did go down that road, they could, with the login permissions, log in and, you know, put information up on the sign, basically.
Well,
But
as long as
at the
it-
current
yeah.
time, it's only us that can do it.
because I'm sure I saw a Halloween dance still on that thing flickering. So, I mean, it'll be nice if we can just get it over with and not Merry Christmas in July.
Well, we're just preparing for next year, no?
So in addition to the LED sign, we replaced the projector this year, or in 2024, and so we put in a request for a new screen to use with the projector for 2025 as well. Within our parks, I'll pass this over to our manager of public works if he wishes to speak about the.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of different projects here. One of them is the Centennial Park Playground preparation. So we received the new playground from the Rotary Club last year. And so now we need to actually go and install it. So I need to move some irrigation, we need to put down some pea gravel or those kind of shaved rubber kind of matting sort of things, and then actually install the playground itself. So we've put a line item of $20,000 in there. Next one is the Centennial Park pool. So at the end of the last season, we again had that leak coming out of the drain. So we've allocated $40,000 to do the repairs on that. That will allow us, if we can do the repairs for cheaper, we definitely will. But the $40,000 will allow us to go in and cut out that section of pipe, hand dig down to it with our staff and kind of repair that drain. And that would be kind of the worst case scenario. And then finally, Mill Park boat launch design. So after we brought the concepts to council, we've received direction to go back to the consultant and have them come up with a plan utilizing the existing area, as much of the existing structures as possible. So we caught it in enough time that they're gonna use the remaining budget that they have in the current contract to take a look at kind of two different options down there. One of them will be kind of the bare minimum to meet the regulatory requirements, and putting in a new wharf section along the boat launch. And then a kind of second option, what maintenance would be required to bring the current situation up to a usable situation. And so we've put in $10,000 of additional funds for them to be able to finalize all of that work.
With the Centennial Playground, is Public Works going to be setting up, or do you guys, cause it'd have to be inspected to make sure that it was properly done, so do you just hire somebody to come and have a look at it after you set it up, or are you gonna get somebody to do it?
We're most likely gonna get a certified installer.
Yeah, that's what they did down the other part, yeah, perfect. And hopefully with the design, when we have them, that word can get out to, I'm not a fisherman and I don't have a boat, so I don't, but people could come and have a look at the design inside the office here and something and make their comments of it. Those are the ones that know what they want and hopefully they'll come up with some different scenarios with it. That's all I got.
All right, anybody else? Questions? That's the end of the presentation. I've included at the back, a summary of the 2024 budget versus actual and 2025 budget, if anybody had any questions on that. It's probably too quick right now, but if anything comes up, it's let us know. So
Yeah.
that's what we'll be bringing forward to the bylaw preparation and then any of the comments from council. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was all you had today?
That is all I have today.
And so, do you mind just briefly explaining what we do next? We're doing, operational next? Is that what we're doing next?
On March 18th, I will be bringing forward the operational budget.
Nice.
And then if I can add, next week, so March 11th,
Yeah.
is that when we have the grant and aid?
They also come forward to
We've had
council.
several applications for grants and aid, so that'll come forward at the regular meeting next week.
Excellent.
Okay, any other questions from council at this time?
I'll wait, on the grant aid I do, but I'll probably have to wait till the next one.
Is it a general question or a specific question?
What I'm just wondering is, and I'm gonna make a proposal later on, is that the grants stay in Chase, eh? They don't go outside the village of Chase and that. I don't know what the bylaw states.
Yeah, we have a policy and we'll bring that forward with the
Yeah.
grant applications and we can discuss that next week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, the policy doesn't specify, but if council as a whole, wants to go down that road or the majority, then yeah, we can make those decisions next week.
Yeah, because it's interesting, the TNRD has grant and aid, and they actually give a grant and aid to the village of Chase, to Creekside quite regularly. So they don't just keep it to their area, they actually give money to us.
TNRD.
Yeah. Any other comments from council? Okay, number 10, any notice of motion? Number 11 is the opportunity for the public to speak on municipal matters. Yes,
Glenn McLean from Precinct 1 Junction. Just a request of council here. And this is concerning the Encore housing project. Had a request from one of the directors from that are involved with the Encore housing project. And they were looking for a couple of representatives to, from Chase to be on their board of directors. And I thought that's probably a pretty good idea because it's for our benefit that, and for the housing situation in Chase. And it might be nice to have a couple of directives on there that could ensure that whatever they were putting forward was going to be in Chase's best interest. The request came from a former manager of, from Interior Health that we dealt with quite a bit, and she's on this board, on the board of directors, and she was looking for. Well, I think I've probably got one lined up, but if you, as individuals, happen to think in terms of what would be a good fit for a person to be on the board of directors for this housing project. If if you would be kind enough to, perhaps, let the CAO know, and then if you would be, I'll, give you some information on,
Great.
who it is and where to go. But if you wouldn't mind, just thinking on that a little bit, because in my mind, this is sort of a no-brainer to have local representation on the board of directors of an operation that's going to affect Chase, so. Thank you very much.
I just have one question, Liz.
Yeah.
Where does the board of directors meet?
From what I understand, they do meet here, but they do a lot of their discussions by,
Zoom or whatever, Teams
Yeah.
or virtually.
Oh, virtually.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the requirements for the directors, depending on what they, they can be a business person, if they have time, there isn't a lot of time spent or time anticipated on these meetings. They figured about 4 hours in a month would be what they would be looking at. And less, depending on how, you can put more or less time in it, depending on how much interest you have in it.
Mr. Mayor? If I can just ask you, Len, is this, would that board be looking after all of Encore's interests, not just Chase necessarily? Or is it a local
I think my understanding
representation?
was that it was, or I assumed, we'll put it that way, that it was strictly for Chase that they were looking at him, because that's why they needed someone
Right, from the local area,
for
yeah.
the
Right.
operation here, at the planning stages and that kind of thing.
Well, we'll put our thinking caps on.
If you would be kind enough, we'd certainly appreciate it.
Our office, they keep a pretty good buzz on it too, don't they? The Encore with the village's, interests and that?
Yeah, they're actually work directly with Sean, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but they do have some, BC Housing is funding the project,
Yeah.
so they have certain criteria that have to be followed. But yeah, it makes sense to have some local sort of input, for sure.
Well, she asked, she said a couple, if she could,
Yeah.
if, she was asking if I knew of anyone who worked, well, you folks will have a better idea than I do in terms of who would be a good representative for Chase.
Who wants to go first here?
You go ahead, you might be saying what I'm gonna.
Real quick, I'll connect with my contacts, get some information and distribute it.
Yeah.
Is that it, Len, for now?
That's it,
Okay,
thanks.
thank you.
Thanks, man.
I see one other person there. Do you have any questions at this time?
Quiet today.
Okay, thank you
See
very
you at
much.
coffee tomorrow.
We have no in camera, not releasing from in camera, need a